Hello, this is John. The moon has been a huge mystery to me my entire life. The older I get, the more I see wrong with it. The moon is a paradox, or at least parts of what I observe show great paradoxes. In this video, I want to talk about the cratering on the moon and what craters are and how they happen. We're told that the craters on the moon are the result of meteor impacts. And it certainly looks that way, wouldn't you say? But there's a little bit more to this. I think NASA early on underestimated our ability to think for ourselves. And I want to demonstrate this. This is an original John idea here. I've covered a lot of topics and conspiracies that people could say, you're mimicking other people, John. Or you're just making shit up again. Or, we know all about that. But this is one I've never heard anyone else talk about. And it's a very big problem that I have with craters on the moon. Look at all those beautiful craters. All so perfect. Some big, some small. But they're all perfect. Embedded in that soft lunar soil, that lunar dust. It's like powder when we watch the footage of the Apollo astronauts prancing about. But what is the deal with the moon craters? Have you ever noticed them before? Have you noticed a problem with them? Well, NASA was able to beautifully simulate those craters, both in Arizona. That's right, in Arizona they made a replica of the moon. And I'm going to show you here a few pictures of it, and you can take a look at it. They placed detonations that exploded, blew up, created craters to mirror the moon. And there's also the LOLA program. And the LOLA program showed us a scaled lunar surface. And both of these places that were created by NASA really give us a good look at how NASA could go about faking both the LEM approach and the activities on the moon. So whether or not these places and these models were the exact ones used is irrelevant. But what it does show us is that they had the ability to do the moon and build it on scale. What NASA loves to do is hype everything they have to show you and proclaim themselves to be the arbiters of truth and knowledge and scientific inquiry. And any other hype like this video or any other expose of what's going on or what people think could be going on, that hype is to not be believed. So NASA points to the heavens and says, look where we say to look, but do not look anywhere else. And for Pete's sake, don't think for yourself. It's not a direct quote, but let's roll with it, huh? So what is this moon crater paradox I talk about? Well, we can look up at the moon with binoculars or a camera with a good zoom or a telescope, and we can see what appear to be craters on the moon. It seems pretty self-explanatory. And then we're presented with images taken by the Apollo missions. And take a look at these. Beautiful cratered moon surfaces. The question I have is, why is every moon crater a perfect circle? Perfect. Look at them again and think about it. Should they all be the same perfectly circular shape? We can understand why some would be bigger and some smaller, maybe some deeper and some shallower. But why are they all perfectly round? Think about it for just a moment. And while you think about it, take a look at these meteors entering Earth's atmosphere clips. when we observe meteors entering the atmosphere, they come in at flat trajectories, sometimes 45 degrees, sometimes 20 degrees, sometimes they skim and hit the surface and then just disappear again as if they went back out into space. Occasionally you'll see some very steep ones. And I'm hoping you're guessing at this point what it is I'm getting at with the moon and its craters and the paradox. The paradox is the angle of entry and the resulting shape of the impact crater. The vast majority of meteors we see arcing through the sky have flatter or flat enough trajectories that if they were to impact the surface, we would expect them to leave an elongated crater, not a perfectly symmetrical round crater. This illustration was taken from an educational website's explanation of the shape of craters. And they're showing an impact angle of about 45 degrees. And then they show how the resulting material slumps down to the bottom and forms that unique cone that's in the bottom of a crater. But that is not what is under consideration here. It's the shape of the crater itself. It's the shape of a crater. This particular slide illustrates the point crystal clear. Many of you, if not all of you, are familiar with firearms and the damage caused by the impact of a round. And when you shoot flat across the ground, you'll see a furrow where the bullet enters the ground and skids and destroys and spreads the dirt as it moves across. Not surprisingly, the impact of Superman's spacecraft, he's faster than a speeding bullet. This is how the movie Superman in 1978 depicted an impact crater from a projectile or an object entering the atmosphere and moving along a flat trajectory. Much like the meteors we just saw in the footage a few moments ago. That is what an elongated impact crater should look like. Why aren't there any impact craters like that on the moon? Why are they all perfectly round? The moon is made out of, apparently, moon dust and lightly compacted moon soil. There's no moisture on the moon, according to NASA, so there's nothing to bind the pulverized surface. Meteors coming down at any angle that isn't nearly vertical should have elongated impact craters, shouldn't they? It's easy to see, or at least easy enough to accept, that a meteor striking the Earth coming straight down, or striking the moon, would create a nearly perfect circle, a nearly perfect hemisphere in the ground where it blows out the dirt, blows it away. But anything outside near vertical is going to hit in an angle, and it's going to slide, especially on the moon where it's, like I said, it's not dense, it's dust, and there's no moisture to bind everything. So on a sphere, you could see how they would skip off and create ejecta that is not uniform. That ejecta should open up like an oval and be narrower at one end and steeper at the other, and the Superman picture really illustrates that well for us. To be fair to NASA, I was able to find a few elliptical shaped craters on Mars and a couple on the moon. But it's hard for me to believe the bullshit that every impact was between 85 and 90 degrees when striking the moon. It was almost as if space aliens with bombs were playing darts from a couple million miles away and hitting dead center every single time. Every single time, to create those perfect, beautiful round craters. I'm going to ask you again to think about what NASA has done and how much tomfoolery and fakery and fraud we have seen. And we've seen the great lengths and extent they've gone to simulate, for training purposes, the moon missions, which by all accounts appear not to have ever occurred. Look at those tracks. Perfect for a motion picture to circle around on, huh? NASA would have an easier time making round craters than a lot of elliptical and other ones, right? Odd shapes. Instead, they've shown us the moon the way they want us to see it, with perfectly round craters. But the meteors we see coming into Earth's atmosphere, it doesn't matter what size they are, traveling faster than a speeding bullet, right? Tens of thousands of miles per hour. They're going to hit the Earth at whatever angle they come in at. They're going to hit the moon at whatever angle they come in at. There should be a lot of long furrows dug through the moon's surface that are easily discernible as impact craters that have come in on flat trajectories. That is the paradox of the moon and its craters. I hope other people pick this information up and go with it, because it is a mystery. And this mystery lends itself to the conspiracy of this bizarre world in which we live. A world where nothing makes sense when you start to critically examine it. In science and history and religion, medicine, chemistry, they all fall by the wayside as being full of hype and full of bullshit. And you'll watch people come on here in the comments, I hope to, because they did with the Mystery of Pyramid Lake video, and try and explain away, using shallow arguments, that what we see with our own eyes isn't real. It never is. We can't believe our own eyes. We have to trust NASA and trust astrophysics and trust quantum mechanics to explain away the simplest things, such as the trajectory at which a meteor impacts the Earth. Think about the airplane wreckage you've seen and how the fuselage, luggage, parts of the plane are strewn out in a long line along the ground. It's not a perfectly circular blast crater when an airplane strikes the surface at a flat trajectory and crashes. It's an elongated mess. Don't buy the hype. Think about this paradox. Tell me what you think. Whether you agree or not, tell me what you think. What is going on with the moon?
It's all just a big joke! It's a joke!